Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our next podcast. Hi, Lynn, how are you?
Hi, Jaslyn. Still coughing today, so please
Yeah,
excuse me if I cough during our session.
it's going to be quite a
But
difficult one for you, right?
but yeah, it's terrible haze in KL, so it's
Yeah,
just what it is.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know how those throat irritations can be at times. Just as you're trying to put your point out there, it just flares out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we are going to actually look at we looked at the soul contract concept itself, what it means, and what we explained about what each of those triangle means, what does every quadrant mean, right? And we already covered the karmic part of it. And today what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the soul contract in terms of the talents and the goals because this is a very interesting one. A lot of times we always focus on the karmic part or we look at the challenges. But what is even interesting is that every soul contract is so well equipped. You come with the talents and the goals, like, it's already pre-done. Okay. But sometimes, of course, when the soul comes here, and we have spoken about this before, the soul goes through the soul amnesia, we kind of forget. And the soul contract gives us back that remembrance to remember that because at the soul level, we kind of know about it. It's just that human experience takes us away from remembering. Okay. So let me just share the screen first. Okay. I need the screen sharing. Yeah. Yeah, let me just share that one and then we can look at the frequencies there and then let's speak about it from there, right? Okay, so if we look at this chart, right? The same chart that we used last week, okay? We used Princess Diana's one. And then
You
we
want
look
to
at
zoom out a
that.
little bit, Jaslyn,
Oh,
just
okay.
to make it
Yeah, sure.
bigger.
Is
Clearly
that good?
see.
Is that good?
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Looks good.
Okay. Fantastic.
Uh, pull it down a bit. Pull it up a bit. Sorry. Okay. Right. Perfect.
Right.
You can't see the 22. Okay, perfect.
Okay, good now. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks. Okay, so when we're looking at talent here, right, we're going to look at this. And we're looking at this. So there are two talents here, which is the physical talent and the spiritual talent. So, like we mentioned before, usually a lot of times we would already see the physical talent like between birth and about 35, and then 35, 42 as well. And after that, we could be experiencing, all the talents from our spiritual talent. And that is why I've also noticed when people, at the beginning of stage, they are into something, they're into a kind of a career or they're doing something. And after a certain time, they move on to something else. And there's a deep feeling that they want to do this and they're not sure where's that coming from. And that usually comes from the spiritual talent because as you grow, your soul kind of wakes you up to remember that, hey, remember we wanted to do this. Okay. Now, the one that we're going to look at here for this reference point, yeah, just to refer to this, we're going to look at Princess Diana's one here. And she has a physical talent of 22. A lot of times we have noticed with the 22, right? There's a lot of movement, okay? This is a frequency that speaks about movement. And they are natural at, exploring. They love to explore, right? They're explorers. So when we speak about explorers, we're not only speaking about exploring the physical realm, we're also speaking about the spiritual realm. Many 22s, they could love traveling. Okay? I'm sure a lot of people that you have met with the 22s who love traveling, right, Lynn?
I have a 22.
Ah, yes. Okay, and how is that for you?
But it's not a physical aspect. So for me, it's more on a spiritual aspect. So my movement or my exploration has a lot to do with exploring different modalities, different
Right.
schools of thoughts, different teachings, different systems, and what do you call it? Movement also in the sense that I move country. I
Ah,
migrate from Vietnam to Malaysia. I live in a
right.
different country. So yeah, the 22 can express in a deeper way than just traveling in
exactly.
the literal sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we speak about movement, we are also speaking a lot about movement from within. Okay, it could be also movement of within into the outer side. Okay, because movement, when we look at the physical and the spiritual side, especially the physical side, for some people, it can even resonate as movement from within, being something and trying to expand that as well. So if we look at Princess Diana's one, which we can see quite obvious here, would be in terms of movement, would be like stepping beyond the royal traditions and connecting with people. Okay, she was
Mm-hmm.
able to move into that, right? So that could have been her movement from within as well.
Yeah.
And many of them with the 22s, they are also people who I've seen with new ideas, new perspectives. They look at things from a lot of different angles. And I think that a lot comes from the two itself,
Yep.
because the twos,
Definitely.
yeah, the twos are all about, looking at things at different perspective. I will
Yeah.
always would say that it looks like a spring, and then that spring has got all this different perspective. You're able to look at it at different point of view, and this allows the flow of it as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've noticed that a lot of them with the 22s, they are either exploring or they're learning or they're constantly, into something because they're expanding themselves in that way.
Yeah.
And most of them are quite busy, I guess, right? How about you in
Um,
general?
well, busy exploring new things, yes. It's more like it's because 20 is all about movement. So it's all about, you know, the wave and the wind. If
Right.
you look at the symbol, it's the wave and the
Yes,
wind.
yes,
It just
this,
keeps moving.
yeah,
And it's a tireless kind of explorer. Whether
yeah,
you are exploring on a physical level, where
yeah,
it's about researching things, it's about um, what do you call it?
understanding,
Yeah, being flexible enough and looking for changes
right,
in an organization, changes in life, new
right.
experiences, and so on. So um,
A lot,
busy, not exactly as busy as a 12-3 in the other talent,
yeah.
I'm, I'm
Yeah,
sure, but
I have
it
that
is
12-3. Yeah,
it is that continuous movement, I would say. But another thing I wanted to draw to talent is that talent doesn't mean that you have it all 100% fine and dandy from the word go. Even
right.
in the talent position, we have about 25%. I would think probably up to 30% of karmic imprints.
Definitely.
Excuse me. And for a lot of us who do not leverage on our talents, we still have to deal with the karmic imprints that come
Yeah,
with the vibration. So
yeah,
for the case of 22, for example, it can manifest as being a peacekeeper or having conflicts because 20 is all about war to peace, right?
right.
So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's about I see a lot of people with 22, they are taking the role of a peacekeeper, whether in a family
Yes.
or in the circle that they are in.
Agreed.
Of course, some of them also manifest in conflicts,
Yeah,
especially because Princess Diana has a 14-5, which is intense
yeah,
emotionally.
yes. Yeah,
So we we all this, like what you said, internal movement, right? The
yeah,
emotional movement and the different things within that manifest into the outer world of standing in conflicts
yeah,
and so
yeah.
on.
Yes, that's something I think we see a lot with the 22s. And many 22s, yeah, the talent, as you mentioned, is a part of what they're supposed to be good at. But when they are still facing the challenges, okay, somehow we still do face challenges because before we become good at something, there would be some challenges, right? Before it can really become our strength. But what makes it very interesting is because of all the wisdom that they have and the flow, they somehow are able to kind of get through it with more grace, I would say,
Yep,
because
definitely.
that wisdom guides them, okay, and the flow allows them to take it. And a lot of
Yeah.
those with the 22 as well in the physical talent, they are all natural researchers. You would see a lot of people who do research. I'm sure you've seen clients, who are teachers by experience. If you ask them something, they just know it because they've experienced it. Okay. And that is what is very interesting about them, because they're natural learners. They love to learn. Okay. So they don't really you wouldn't see a lot of 22s who would really say, oh, I learned this through a very systematic, structured system. They would learn it actually through experience or even through traveling. Because when they're traveling, they're actually learning, they're absorbing imprints from these places as well, in terms of culture or in terms of knowledge, right? It's a very interesting frequency, I must say. Yeah.
I love
The,
22.
yeah,
It's
I,
one
I
of my
know.
favorites.
Yeah, every time I have a 22 client, right, the first thing I would ask them, do you have to travel? And they all go like, oh, yes,
Yeah.
So, but only when we speak about the traveling from within, when we actually mention that to them, then it kind of hits it. Because otherwise, it's always about the surface level, the physical level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But this traveling is more than just the physical level. It's a lot about the within, because when they are even moving in their movements from a place to another place, they are in fact learning. They're in fact taking the imprints of those places.
Yeah.
Now, even if we look at Princess Diana in that sense, she did move around a lot in terms of inner self.
I
Yeah.
was also going to say that in her case specifically, she's also agent of change because
Yeah.
because 22 is all about change and
Yes. Yes.
moving from this state to another state,
True.
state of mind or state of emotion. And she
Yeah.
challenges the old way of the monarchy,
Yep.
and she creates that that she moved the rigidity of the royal
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
into a more flexible, more fluid way of expression. So
Yeah.
that is the talent that was in its action.
Yes. And, when we spoke earlier about the 14.5 and the 10.1, we spoke also about her being able to, the ability, the inability to actually express, at certain points. There was a lot going on within her. But we also see, because she had the 22, she was actually able to show herself in a different perspective in terms when she worked with, she spoke about HIV. She spoke about AIDS, and she brought some change into that, the way people looked at it. Because she
Yep.
was in a position where when she spoke about it, it was kind of, accepted, right? So that is very interesting as well about the 22s. Okay, maybe let's just jump. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot if we talk about this talent that she
Yes, a
expresses.
lot, a lot.
Like
Yes.
even the resiliency in the two, because she
Oh,
was very
yes.
resilient
Yep.
in her sharing of what she
Yes,
believes
yes.
in,
Yep.
and the emotional resiliency in the face of criticism, in the face of
Yep.
challenges, in the face of the different intense relationships that she had with people around her or in the family.
Yep.
So that resiliency, I believe, is also very strong
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
expression in
This is,
Princess
yeah,
Diana.
this is a very beautiful tool to have, especially for those who are going through a lot of challenges, right? Because somehow I've noticed those with the two, the resilience part has brought them very far. Okay, no matter what they have experienced, right?
Yep.
And yeah, one thing I would like to say here is a lot of careers with 22 are very connected with guiding as well, right? So they are guides, or they are
Or
even travel guides and things like that, because of
doing
the
research, stuff like
research.
that.
Yes, yes. Okay, so a lot of careers in that sense. Yeah. Okay, is there anything you want to add on before we jump on to the 12
No, I think we
tree?
can talk a lot about this
Oh,
energies, but
yes,
it's
we
never
can
ending.
go on. Yes, because there's so much to look at, because it's not just about the 22, it is about the 2 on its own and the 20 on its own, and how they work together. Even that brings a lot. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the spiritual talent, okay, which is the 12th tree. So with the 12th tree, it is a lot about wanting to learn knowledge, a lot of creativity as well. Okay, that is one thing I've noticed with the 12-3 as well. And the 12, right, they have got this great thirst for learning, the 12-3s. And I have a 12-3, so
Yeah, I
I'll
was
be
gonna
able
say
to,
that.
yeah. So I am like, and I've got quite a number of threes. So going into that is like a big thing for me, right? Like learning is like I have to tell myself, oh, okay, hold it, that's enough. Otherwise, I'm going to go deep, deep, deep into the rabbit hole. Okay. And I think it is not really about wanting to know everything, but I guess it is because you just want to understand and the curiosity comes up, right? So that is one. But at the same time, this 12-3, what can also happen is they can go into the rabbit hole and become a bit obsessive as well, wanting to know things. So, like you said, the talent is there, but the challenges also kind of come in there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So when we look at this is also a place where there is a lot of compassion, right? With the 12-3, there's a lot of compassion, there's a lot of love. They're also very nurturing. And I think we saw that a lot with Princess Diana as well. There
Yep.
was always a lot of compassion in everything she did, with people especially. The way she reacted with people around her, people who would come
Yeah.
and stand by, just to watch her. We could see how she always had that warmth as she
Yep.
tried to even walk past, okay? And
Mm.
that part of her was so warm, even when you saw her on TV or you saw her around people, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so she would always watch and kind of she understood what others were going through.
I think the 12 tree here has a lot of love in it, but love in a very active sense.
Yeah,
It's not so much like a passive of the 13-4.
yeah,
13-4 is very still and very passive, but the 12 tree is a lot of action.
yeah,
It's not the same as the 7, like, also love in action, but the 12 tree is the expansion of love, the sharing of love in a way, like, for example, she was touching the HIV/AIDS patients, or she was creating different social welfare for children or
yeah.
for uh, women and stuff like that. And
Yes,
all these
yes,
different campaigns that she did was all out of love, out of that,
yes,
that
yes.
maternity, that maternal kind of love that
Love, the
was
motherly love.
radiating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As you said that, I remember I've seen like glimpse, as I was growing up on TV, where she would actually take kids and put on a lap and speak to them. So
Mm,
that is absolutely true. That is a part of her talent, and that came from the very deep spiritual side of it, right?
mm.
So that is pretty interesting because even with the tree, there's a lot of wisdom that is going on there. Okay, so it is a deep knowing, it's a deep knowledge that she actually brought. And the 12 trees, they have this amazing way of seeing beauty in everything. And even in the lowest of vibration, right, with this frequency. So I think that was very prominent with her.
Mm.
Although other people may look at it as, something maybe of a low vibrational situation, but she would look at it with so much of love and compassion because she's just able to see the beauty in everything. Yeah, that was
I,
very interesting.
I think one of the reasons, this is just probably like jumping ahead and what do you call it, a bit um more advanced level, because if we look at her whole spiritual triangle, it has 10 ones in 2 positions and it has 12
Right.
tree. And 10-1
Exactly.
is all about compassion, is all about,
Compassion.
transformation
And a service
and
soul.
yes, service, being
Yeah.
of service.
Yeah. Being of
So as far as
service.
the soul is concerned, or the spiritual aspect is concerned, she's here to actually be that, I wouldn't say Mother Kuan Yin, but be that compassionate, motherly, loving
Motherly. Yes.
person that shares her love to the world.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
that's
And I think we all felt that, you know, and a lot of people saw that as well. We all saw that because those that she was around felt it the way that they would physically approach her and she would like physically approach because the physical love comes from the 12-3, right? And many of the 12 trees, they are also phenomenal guides, they are coaches, they're mentors. And although she was not doing it in a sense of actually being a coach or actually being a mentor, but many people across the world looked up to her in that sense. You know, the way she was doing things, the way she even presented herself, there was always poise, there's always like that gentle love kind of thing. And I think many people felt that. And one
Yep.
of the key things about this is with the spiritual talent, when it's a spiritual talent, um, like I mentioned, even though not in the traditional way, they mentor people, but it's just through their social presence itself and social media itself, they could actually be transmitting it.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was one thing that was definitely prominent with her because I think she shared more from her soul,
Mm.
right?
And yeah, the love comes from the soul level. And excuse me. In another aspect of the 12 tree in the spiritual talent is also to do with being a spiritual teacher, because 12
Yep.
tree is all about teaching, and in a
Yes,
spiritual
yes,
aspect
yes.
it's about teaching spiritual
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
So when we look at her life, she wasn't, she wasn't teaching meditation or teaching healing or teaching those spiritual knowledge and stuff in a
The
direct
traditional
way.
ones. Yeah.
Yes, but she was teaching values. She was teaching love as a value, as a spiritual value.
True.
And she was teaching, what do you call it? Human connection,
Right.
all of that. So, in that sense, then it's not a rigid way of looking at how a person should express their talents in their life,
True.
because it can be, you know, done in many different ways and different nuances.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Looking at her 22 and the 12-3, she definitely did. We did see a lot of those very visible, you know, in terms of her moving around, in terms of her, expanding within, in terms of her sharing her love, especially,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
compassion and that love. So, as much as she was around, we could see all of this, you know. Yes, we did mention earlier on that a lot of these talents in the spiritual side would come up after 35, 42, but it's not really necessary to have a timeline. It could also transmit at any point in life, right? So just that our audience also know that it's not necessary. It's not like it's a roadblock, no, oh, 0 to 35, I'm only going to experience this, and after that, I'm not going to. So I think that unconditional love is something that we saw throughout her whole life, right?
Mm. Yeah. And one thing I would just want to say, I think that's pretty much like a lot for talking about her talents and the talent
Yep.
position. But one thing that I just want to add to this is that for talents, it's the path of least resistance. So
Yep.
it's something that you naturally can express in yourself the easiest, because karmic is so tough. You experience all the negative imprints from early days, and goal is something that you would have to work towards.
Work to, yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
whereas talent is something which is just naturally in you,
yeah, true.
and you can leverage on it in order to work through your karmic imprints and also achieve your goal. So
Yeah,
that's the good bit of this of a soul contract chart,
yeah,
because you know where you should leverage on.
exactly. Absolutely
Yeah.
agreed. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that is what we're going to speak in terms of when it comes to the soul contract reading as well as the talent position. Okay. So we looked at both. We looked at the physical and the spiritual. And we'll be back on our next episode and we will speak about the goals. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Thank you
right.
everyone for joining
Thank you
us.
and see you soon. Bye.